second. Lance, talk to me about this ruling that, as you saw, defense tried its best, even trying to kind of prolong the start of this this day by saying, wait a minute, these guys came back with all these guys being prosecution came back with all this defense, these case laws to bolster their argument as to why we need to have Zimmerman's school records, his desire to be a cop, and all those types of those documents are evidence being introduced into the court as evidence, and the judge says, look, I told you yesterday, you knew this was going to come up yesterday, you had time, just like they apparently did homework, the prosecution did homework last night, to come back with all these case laws, and then now you're saying, wait, I need more time, you knew this was going to come up, why didn't you do your homework last night? Judge is like, I stayed up too. So what do you make of this ruling this morning?
I think it's going to backfire on the prosecution. There's two reasons why I think it will. First is now the defense will be able to argue that George Zimmerman knew he did not have to talk to any of the investigators. All of these interviews were voluntary interviews. He could have said no, he could have asked for a lawyer, but knowing the law, he chose to speak to the police. And the second reason is he knew that if he lied to the investigators in any way, misrepresented what he told to 911, what he said to any of the witnesses, what he said to the officers on the scene, they would have charged him with obstructing their investigation.
Lance, that's a great point you bring up. Harry, let me bring you into this discussion, though. It's excellent. You know, Lance is saying, hey, listen, this is going to be proof that, yeah, okay, if you want to bring in the records and you show that George Zimmerman has a working knowledge of the law, and he also understands police jargon, and that means he knows not to lie to the police. Conversely, though, that means because he's familiar with, you know, kind of walking through that web, if you will, he also knows what he can say. He knows how to start to set the scene immediately.
Right.
So
okay. Yeah, you know, that's a very good point Lance made. You know, but you know, the fact is, what the defense is going to wind up doing here is, you know, when these witnesses come on, they're going to be able to use this. Now, you know, basically the fact is that he was prepared. He knew how to deal with the police. All right. He knows what the truth is and what false statements are, okay? We can see through all the testimony we see that Zimmerman has always been telling the truth along the way, okay? And the fact that he wants to be a police officer, they want to call him a cop wannabe, all right? There's nothing wrong with that. What they're trying to do is trying to inject, the prosecution's trying to inject into the jury that it's not a good thing because he's a cop wannabe. You know, the guy's 20-some years old, all right, he still has time to be a police officer.
So what you say that based on what you've heard, that Zimmerman has told the truth along the way. Zimmerman has told it how he wants to tell it.
Yeah, but
I mean, there's nobody else to dispute what happened that night.
But
the other guy is dead.
The evidence clearly indicates, based on what I've seen, okay, in this case, that Zimmerman has told the truth. All the physical evidence backs everything up that he has said.
Well, although, like, Lance, you're still there. Yesterday, as you know, the medical examiner, Dr. Valerie Rao, was on, and she said, she's the medical examiner, and she testified that George Zimmerman's injuries were insignificant, her words, and could have been the result of a single blow, as prosecutors continue to make their case that the neighborhood watch volunteer was not simply defending himself when he shot 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. Lance, jump in there for me.
Sure. You know, I think one of the issues that's being lost in this, and it is the critical issue in this case, is why did someone start using deadly force? Why did George Zimmerman fire a shot, and why did he stop shooting? He fired one shot. George Zimmerman fired a shot, and the jury has now heard that he fired the shot because his head was being bashed into the pavement. He was experiencing a lot of pain from being hit from the front, and he thought he was going to go unconscious. But why did he stop shooting? He stopped shooting even though he thought he missed. He was adamant he thought he missed. He stopped shooting because the attack stopped. So you have him starting the shooting because he believed he was going to be unconscious and was receiving a violent injury, and he stopped immediately even though he thought he did not hit someone with the round. That is going to be an extremely difficult thing for the prosecutors to get around because it shows that he was not wild or intent on killing someone.
Right. You know, I mean, you can see, she stated yesterday in her testimony, at first that, you know, this might have been only one blow to the sidewalk. All right. Then later on, she said it could be as many as 4. All right. So she changed that. Second of all, you know, her claim, all right, that the injuries aren't severe.
Right.
It's fine. I mean, after the fact, they weren't severe enough. But the only person who's got to think that those injuries were severe enough that he might have been killed, all right, is Zimmerman and his state of mind at the time. So if his head's getting slammed or hit against the sidewalk and he believes he might go unconscious, he believes in his mind his life is in danger now and he needs to shoot to be able to save his life, and he did.
And what Harry's talking about here is Dr. Rayo. She is the medical examiner yesterday, saying that Zimmerman's injuries were not only, quote, not life-threatening, but were also, quote, very insignificant. She said the injuries to the back of Zimmerman's head were consistent with hitting the ground, but the injuries on his face were from consistent with one punch or strike. What did you think?
Too.
Okay, what?
Later on.
That was later.
Right.
People, they keep changing
Right.
their testimony a little bit, which is not unusual, because that was one of the things that I'm not sure if it was defense, Lance bringing you back into the conversation, wasn't sure if it was defense or prosecution, just saying how it is normal for, especially when witnesses or victims or, you know, even in this case the defendant, to give a slightly different, their testimonies to change a little bit right after the incident, and then months or days later, because recollections change.